pro football's traditional setting for a Thanksgiving Day, but the Jets' Ken O'Brien didn't exactly receive a festive welcome from the Lions. With William Gay, number 79, carving up New York's offensive line, O'Brien was one bird who was burnt rather than basted on this holiday. Gay proved troublesome enough to draw double teaming, but on this play, two blockers couldn't prevent him from forcing the first of two O'Brien fumbles. O'Brien, the AFC's most sacked quarterback, was dumped 7 times on the day, while Eric Hipple enjoyed a more secure pass pocket. Hipple victimized New York with 4 touchdown passes, including 3 to Leonard Thompson, number 39. The 31-20 win was Detroit's 6th home victory without a loss in 1985. On the road, where they are a paltry 1-6, the Lions resemble Elmer Fudd stumbling around near a rabbit hole. But at the Silverdome, they more closely suggest Superman in his fortress of solitude. 3 days after the Lions beat the stuffing out of the Jets on Thanksgiving, the Philadelphia Eagles were in the process of feasting on the Minnesota Vikings. With Ron Jaworski passing for 320 yards and 2 scores, the Eagles gorged themselves on a 23-0 lead through 3.5 periods. But as contented Philadelphia fans were heading for the exits to get an early jump on post-game traffic, the Eagles suddenly underwent the most hideous transformation since Jekyll spasmodically gave way to Hyde. When number 37, Willie Teal, raced 65 yards with a Jaworski fumble, the Vikes garnered their second touchdown in less than 2 minutes. Then, on 2 consecutive drives, number 81, Anthony Carter, got behind Philadelphia's confused secondary to grab a pair of 6-pointers from Wade Wilson. With a minute 11 remaining in the game, the Carter-Wilson tandem sewed up an incredible 28-23 victory for a Minnesota team that produced 4 unanswered touchdowns in the final 8.5 minutes of play. By neglecting to slam the back door on the Vikings, the Eagles saw their playoff chances fly right out the window. Hoping to avoid a similar plight, Bill Walsh's resurgent San Francisco 49ers were concerned about taking on the likewise revived Redskins in Washington. But on the opening kickoff, the Niners were off and running and never had to look back. But after number 32, Carl Monroe, raced 95 yards to the end zone, San Francisco's offense proved unable to strike as swiftly. The Redskins outgained the 49ers by a substantial margin and controlled the ball for much of the game. But San Francisco got maximum results from minimal possession time. This grab by Freddie Sullivan, number 88, set up one of 2 Wendell Tyler touchdowns. And Joe Montana also fired a scoring strike to number 81, Russ Francis. While the Niners' offense may be in need of a tune-up, their defense is definitely revved in high gear. San Francisco produced 5 takeaways, the most crucial occurring when young Jay Schrader, number 10, was belted by a blindside blitz. Number 58, Keena Turner's fumble return contributed to the 49ers' 5th win in their last 6 games. A 35-8 triumph that set up this week's showdown with the Rams for first place in the NFC West. While the outcome of this contest left the 49ers thinking division title, the Redskins were left to contemplate their worst home defeat in 20 seasons, a defeat that may very well keep Washington out of the playoffs for the first time since 1981. Despite having little to be thankful for this season, the Cardinals tried to make the best of their Thanksgiving Day in Dallas. Unfortunately for St. Louis, the hosting Cowboys served up an offensive smorgasbord that left the Cardinals with a bad case of indigestion long before they had a chance to sit down to their turkey dinner. Quarterback Danny White threw a season-high 4 touchdown passes, including 2 to wide receiver Tony Hill, who became the first Cowboy in 5 seasons to gain over 1,000 yards receiving. The Cowboys' 35-17 win improved their record to 9-4 and put them in sole possession of first place in the NFC East. St. Louis, on the other hand, stayed on its flight path to the division cellar. The Cardinals aren't the only birds headed south. The Atlanta Falcons have been on a steady descent since the season began. Last Sunday, the Raiders jumped to an early lead. However, the Falcons made a desperate attempt to alter their downward course. Number 88, tight end Arthur Cox's 62-yard touchdown shook off some of the criticism burdening the NFL's worst passing attack, while number 63, Jeff Keywell, shook loose the NFC's leading rusher. Gerald Riggs rushed for 95 yards and 1 score, but he was outshone by the league's leading rusher, Marcus Allen, number 32. Allen rushed for 156 yards, bringing his season total to 1,392, and was on the receiving end of one of quarterback Mark Wilson's 3 touchdown passes. The Raiders' 34-24 win kept them tied for first with Denver at 9-4. While the Falcons slipped to a blood-curdling 2-11, the San Diego Chargers were in serious need of an offensive transfusion to keep their season from totally unraveling. In the first quarter, quarterback Dan Fouts proved to be a more than suitable donor. Fouts' touchdown pass to Charlie Joyner gave the Chargers an early lead. But it was the defense that brought San Diego back to life by leaving the Bills in a state of shock. Number 29, rookie cornerback John Hendy's 75-yard interception return helped put San Diego ahead 24-0. At the end of the second quarter, running back Joe Cribbs revived Buffalo with a short touchdown run. However, any holes in the Charger defense were plugged up in the second half, leaving Cribbs and the rest of the offense nowhere to run. San Diego's defense is ranked last in the NFL, a fact Bill quarterback Bruce Matheson had a difficult time accepting. Defensive pressure made it an easy afternoon for Fouts, who translated good field position into 3 touchdown passes. Holohan's scoring reception helped boost San Diego to a 40-7 win. Improving their record to 6-7 no doubt started the Chargers' blood circulating again. Unlike those in Green Bay, who last Sunday braved the snowiest conditions in NFL history. Freezing temperatures, 15 inches of snowfall, and a bone-chilling Packer defense were just too much for Tampa Bay. Were held to only 65 total yards, while Green Bay gained over 500, including 100-yard rushing performances by both Eddie Lee Ivory and Gary Ellis, number 31. Ellis's 35-yard touchdown clinched a 21-0 Packer win in a game the Bucs no doubt hope to forget as soon as they thaw out. 6 weeks ago, Cincinnati lost to Houston 44-27. so last Sunday the Bengals were prepared to fight to the finish in the rematch. The Oilers, however, never established a solid foothold over their opponents, and the fight turned into a fiasco. Even a mighty effort by number 33, Mike Rozier, was tainted by that penchant for precarious posturing. Since the Oilers were limited to a mere 73 yards rushing, it's no wonder that their first touchdown came via the air. Yet it was more the result of good fortune than the performance of quarterback Oliver Luck. While number 40, Butch Woolfolk's touchdown helped the Oilers stumble back into the game, the streaking Bengals, led by number 21, James Brooks, would not be tripped up on this day. Cincinnati had the NFL's highest scoring offense through the first 10 weeks of the season, but managed only 4 field goals in their last 3 games. The drought was made up by number 28, Larry Kinnebrew, who rushed for 3 touchdowns, and Boomer Esiason, who accounted for a trio as well, including this 64-yard completion to Rodney Holman, number 82. Esiason showed no ill effects of a hip injury as he flawlessly directed the Bengals to 555 yards of total offense. Number 81, Eddie Brown, put the icing on Cincinnati's 45-27 victory, exacting sweet revenge for the Oilers' blowout of 6 weeks ago. Like the Bengals' Boomer Esiason, New England's Tony Eason enjoyed one of the finest days of his young career, as number 11 passed for 3 touchdowns in his first start in 7 weeks. The Patriots went on top early, but the Colts hung tough behind fullback Randy McMillan, number 32, who matched Eason's aerial strikes with 3 scores of his own. Quarterback Mike Pagel connected with Matt Bouza, number 85, on this 10-yard score. But the Colts' downfall came when Pagel misfired, and his connection was rewired by a teammate to the Patriots. Heading into this contest, the Patriots were the most opportunistic team in the AFC, and the trend continued against Indianapolis. In their 2 matchups this season, New England has now converted 7 Colt turnovers into 38 points. Craig James' 4-yard run helped lift the Patriots to a 38-31 win, putting them right smack in the middle of a 3-way race at the top of the AFC East. The Seahawks want nothing more than to be in the heat of the AFC West race. And last Sunday against Kansas City, Seattle took a giant step toward reaching their goal. After 2 games without throwing a touchdown pass, Dave Craig tossed a pair. Dan Ross, number 85, helped give Seattle a 17-3 lead, and they never looked back, thanks to the stifling Seahawk defense, which limited the Chiefs to 52 rushing yards and 201 overall. With thoughts of a wild card berth providing the inspiration, Seattle turned quarterback Todd Blackledge into a sacrificial lamb, sacking him 5 times and keeping him consistently pressured and confused. Blackledge spent most of the afternoon on his back, and when he did remain upright, all he could get was upset. Three interceptions later, at the short end of a 24-6 score, Blackledge departed Seattle bruised and browbeaten, symbolic of his team, which has fallen to a 4-9 record and is guaranteed of another losing season. Unless your name is Phillips, there is no reason to apply. The Saints have set a precedent by making succession to their head coaching job a family affair. So if Wade Phillips can't turn things around in New Orleans, he can simply pass the job on to his son, Wesley. Chances are, though, if the Saints continue to play like they did last Sunday, it may be some time before young Wesley steps into Pop's shoes. The Saints toppled the first-place Rams by displaying a hard-hitting, aggressive defense. Number 92, James Haynes, recorded one of the Saints' 9 sacks on a linebacker blitz that also resulted in a very costly Ram turnover. Rookie Jack Del Rio recorded his second touchdown of the year by returning the loose ball 22 yards for the score. The Saints kept the Rams out of the end zone, while their offense, which has struggled this season, showed some spark behind the passing duo of quarterback Bobby Hebert and wide receiver Eric Martin, number 84. New Orleans prevailed 29-3, their biggest margin of victory in 3 years. The head coaching job may have become a family affair in New Orleans, but it looks like Wade Phillips will give the Saints a run for its money in their perennial race to field a winner. In Pittsburgh, the revenge motive had the Broncos ready to jump all over the Steelers. With the memory of last year's playoff loss to Pittsburgh still on their minds, the Broncos held the Steelers to just 3 field goals while building a 17-9 third-quarter lead behind the passing of quarterback John Elway. At Mile High Stadium last year was the clutch play of Lewis Lips and a timely interception that led a Steeler comeback. Last Sunday at Three Rivers, history beckoned to repeat itself. Only seconds after Lips' fourth-quarter touchdown, linebacker Mike Merriweather delivered what appeared to be the crushing blow to the Broncos. Merriweather, however, never finished his prayer of victory. Striking with the swiftness of a Denver blizzard, the Broncos buried the Steelers under an avalanche of 2 touchdowns in the final 2 minutes, the second coming on Mike Harden's interception return. In a game that saw 35 points scored in the final quarter, the Broncos triumphed 31-23 to exact their revenge on Pittsburgh. Defense was expected to be the dominating factor in the renewal of the old Brown-Giant rivalry. And for a few brief moments, form held up at the Meadowlands. This game did have its share of sacks and spills, but a second-quarter touchdown return on an interception by safety Al Gross, number 27, set the pattern to a wild contest that resembled those great Brown-Giant clashes of the late 50s and early 60s. Of course, there is no Jim Brown in the Cleveland lineup anymore. But the Giant defense made Kevin Mack look very much like the great Hall of Fame run. Mack's 42-yard touchdown run helped the Browns build a 21-7 lead before the Giants countered with their Jim Brown of the day, Little Joe Morris, number 20. Morris rushed for 131 yards and 3 touchdowns, while wide receiver Bobby Johnson added another as New York rallied from their 14-point deficit to take a 33-21 fourth-quarter lead. The Giants appeared to be on their way to staying in first place in the NFC East, until Gary Danielson stunned the Meadowlands gathering with 2 fourth-quarter scoring drives. Ernest Biner's 9-yard run climaxed Cleveland's heroic comeback. The Giants did have a chance to pull this one out, but with time expiring, Eric Schubert's 34-yard field goal attempt sailed wide. The Browns triumphed 35-33, capping off what was a very unlucky 13th NFL weekend for many teams, including, of course, the now second-place New York Giants.